Good afternoon and welcome to the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources. Will the committee secretary please call the roll? And by the way, thank you for understanding our little bit tardy beginning.
Considine.
Present.
DeLong.
Present.
Gurr.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Karras.
Here.
Kasama.
Here.
LaRue Hatch.
Here.
Marzola.
Present.
Watts. And Chair Anderson.
And I am present. If you would please record Assemblymember Watts present when he arrives. I want to welcome everyone to this meeting, those here in Carson City, as well as anyone joining in Las Vegas or Elko or listening online. On today's agenda, we have 3 bill hearings, but first just a few housekeeping items. Please silence all electronic devices while in the committee room. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and exhibits. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. I think you guys all know the usual rules, but I'll go through a few more of them. Proposed amendments, you need to remember to put down the bill number, a statement of intent, and your name and contact information. And when testifying in person, please turn on the microphone and clearly state and spell your name. Please also state for the record any organization or agency you are representing. Please turn off the microphone each time you are done speaking. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting, and each person will be limited to 2 minutes. You may also submit testimony or public comment in writing up to 24 hours after the meeting. And finally, please note that agenda items may be taken in a different order than those listed. 2 or more agenda items may be combined for consideration, or an agenda item may be removed at any time. I believe Senator Daley had asked to go first. Do we know if he's on his way? I've texted as well as asked somebody to give him a call. So that's one reason why I'm stalling and speaking a little slower than usual. That's what's gonna happen if he's not here in the next 35 seconds. Okay, maybe a little bit less than that. Let's try to see if he's there. So, you may feel like doing some karaoke. So hopefully he'll be here soon. Why don't we stand at recess for just a moment while we wait? Thank you. Ms. Carr, do you want to try to go first? You know what? Why don't you come on up? Why don't we get started in a different order or maybe go with this consistent order unless, oh. All right. There seems to have been a miscommunication. Somebody thought they were going second, but he's actually going first. So now, if you'd please welcome, we'll open up the hearing for Senate Bill 101. And Senator Daley, whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Skip Daley, representing Senate District 13, and I was told I was going second, but either way, I'll get back to my other committee in just a few minutes. Senate Bill 101 was a request from my friend here, Kyle Davis, and the Wildlife Coalition for Nevada Wildlife. And what they wanted to do was to put all fur-bearing big game mammals in the state into the same category. Currently, the law does not require, if you get a tag and go out and hunt mountain lion or bear, you're not required to remove or use the meat from the animal. You could have just removed the head, the cape, the parts, and left the rest. So this will put mountain lions and bears in the same category as all other big game animals or mammals, is that if you get a tag, you intentionally go out and hunt this animal, that you have to then at least remove the carcass from the field. Nobody's going to require to eat it. If you don't want to, you can donate it, you can do whatever, but you can't leave it to waste in the field. When we original draft of the bill, they were bringing in the definition of edible parts into the bill. Everybody agreed that that was probably best left in regulation. So that's the bottom section of the bill that says that they have to change their regulations to conform with this change in the legislation. And they will do that, I'm sure, as quickly as they can, get it in front of the Legislative Commission and make that change. And that's essentially it, unless you have any comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis, today on behalf of the Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife is an organization that has been advocating for Nevada's wildlife for over 30 years. We advocate for the perpetuation of our wildlife resources and our sporting heritage. We approached Senator Daley about sponsoring this bill because we thought it was the right thing to do, to make sure that if somebody goes through the effort of obtaining a tag to hunt big game, that they follow the laws that we have on the books for wanton waste and retrieve the edible parts of those animals. So what this bill does is it clarifies that, as Senator Daley said, mountain lions and bears are big game animals for this section, that you should retrieve the edible parts, and it directs the Wildlife Commission to update regulations to reflect this fact. I want to make a couple of things clear here. This is only applying in cases where you have a tag to hunt that animal. So if this is a case where, you know, we have situations, especially in rural Nevada, where you may have a mountain lion that that might attack livestock or something like that, and you need to shoot that mountain lion to keep that from happening. It's not a case that you have to then retrieve the edible parts in that situation. If you were to hit under current law, if you're to hit an animal, you are not required to do so in that case either. That doesn't change that as well. All it does is in cases where you are going and you are obtaining a tag to hunt that big game animal, that you retrieve those edible parts at the end of that hunt. And that's really all that we're after here, to have consistency in the law and the regulations and make sure we're doing the right thing by our wildlife. So that's the reason that we asked for the bill, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
And thank you very much for rushing on up here. I know that there seem to have been some people who thought one thing, so happy you're here today. I know that I've got a few questions, and I'm going to start off with Vice Chair LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for being here. So my question really is about trichinosis and the worms that we know are in predators. We know that pretty much every bear and mountain lion has these, and if you don't cook the meat properly, those worms burrow into your muscles and hatch and calcify, and it's a serious, serious health concern. And so I just wondered, what are the safeguards as far as the safety if we are now requiring people to harvest that meat and maybe consume it or not?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kyle Davis for the record, through you to Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch. I guess my short answer is I certainly would want to defer to the Department of Wildlife for the real specifics on it, as they are the experts here. Certainly my experience, you know, having hunted in the state for a number of years, that this is something that the department does take seriously. There is education about this in their hunters, the handbook that comes out every year that, you know, is to help people apply for tags and making sure that everybody is aware of not just, you know, what you're talking about, but all the range of potential wildlife diseases that are out there and what you can do to make sure that you're protecting yourself from it.
You may.
And I do appreciate that, because obviously I don't think any of us want brain worms from passing this bill. So we know that these cannot be killed by smoking the meat, drying it, salting it, freezing it, even microwaving it, right? It's cooking to a certain temperature. And so some might consider that none of that meat is edible. And so the portion where it says any edible portion, I wonder, how is that interpreted for someone that wouldn't believe it's edible versus someone that does?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you again, Kyle Davis again for the record. The edible portions is defined in the Nevada Administrative Code. This is something that the Board of Wildlife Commissioners has the authority to do that through regulation. Right now, that is defined as the back straps and all four quarters of the animal.
Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Senator, I thought I heard you say that you, under this bill, you'd have to remove the carcass, and I believe it's just the edible portions. Did I mishear what you said?
No, the edible portions, Skip Daly again for the record, thank you, Madam Chair. The edible portions is the correct term I should have used.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for taking our questions. I guess I'm trying to understand, yeah, I'm familiar with, the existing statutes, but trying to understand why we think it's waste the way it's been with these carnivores, when we know really there is no waste out in the wild. There's other animals that will eat the products that we typically don't eat. We don't eat felines, we don't eat bears. So I'm just curious, essentially, why is it considered waste? Is there like a big problem that we're seeing, that we're coming across bear carcasses and mountain lion carcasses that are just discarded and not eaten by wildlife? And then maybe one other question after that.
Thank you, Skip Daly again for the record. I think the difference there, Assemblymember, is it's the wanton waste, right? You're actively going out, getting a tag to hunt this animal. And we just believe that it should be on the same level as every other animal. We don't allow people to hunt deer and leave the carcass, just take the horns, a variety of others. And we're just trying to put all of the big game fur-bearing mammals in the same situations, right? So if you hit it with a car, if it's a depredation type deal, protecting life or property, you don't have to harvest the edible parts. But if you're actually going out and hunting, then that's the difference, I believe, on you need to use it as the hunter. Keep what you kill if you want, if you've heard the term before.
Well, thank you for that, but now we're talking about animals that we don't eat for the most part. We don't eat felines, we don't eat bears, we don't eat carnivores usually. So what are we supposed to do with that meat? I guess I don't understand how people who are currently hunting bear or mountain lion provide two purposes. They help keep populations in check to kind of have an equilibrium in wildlife. And so we don't have disease and we don't overpopulate. But then we get into people who kill a mountain lion sometimes take the entire thing and they do a full mount or a full bear mount, things like that. But as far as the actual edible portions, I guess I'm just not seeing why we need to do that when we don't eat it. So let's let wildlife eat it and leave it in the wild.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kyle Davis for the record, through you to Assemblywoman Hanson. And this touches a little bit on what Senator Daly said, and I think that, it's the wanton waste. It's aligning with a core tenet of the North American model of wildlife management, which is how we manage wildlife in this state, which is that if you do, if you get a tag and you go out and hunt, then yes, you should retrieve. And the example you give of where they bring out the entire animal for a full body mount, well, then yes, you're certainly, retrieving the edible parts in that situation. In the situation of, if you're somebody you don't want to eat bear, you don't want to eat lion, I guess there's a couple of things here. One, there's no obligation that you obtain a tag to do so if that's not something you want to do. But also, the requirement would be that you retrieve those edible parts, but not necessarily, you don't have to eat them. You can donate that meat. You can use it for other purposes. But the tenet that we are trying to adhere to here is that we are not wasting, that an animal, the meat on that animal is valuable and it is not wasted.
Thank you for that, Chair. So we would bring that out. If we don't eat it, we don't find somebody who's going to take it, how do we ensure they're not just going to throw it in a dumpster or discard it somewhere else because they've got to take it out of the wild? They bring it home, there's no place for it. And then I would just argue, I don't think there's waste by leaving it for other animals.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kyle Davis again for the record.
Please go direct. I'm sorry, I should have said that right away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To your question, yes, the law and the regulation do not require that you actually eat all of that meat. So yes, the requirement is that you retrieve the edible parts. After that, no, there is no legal requirement as to what is done with that. And, we're not proposing to get into that at this point. There are a few different options I've named, but realistically, that is your option. And then I apologize, you had a second part to that question that I've forgotten.
Actually, it was more of a statement that it's not waste in
Right.
my view if we leave it there. But if we bring it home, we still could waste it by just throwing it in a dumpster. So in a way, it's more beneficial to leave it where there are going to be animals that will eat it versus putting it in a dumpster, because now the law says I gotta take it, but doesn't mean I have to eat it. So I'm gonna put it in the dumpster and no other animals are gonna get the opportunity to utilize it.
Certainly, thank you, Madam Chair. Kyle Davis again for the record. And yes, certainly it is possible that some meat in that situation could get wasted, so it's just like, that could potentially happen in the wild as well. I guess the only response I would have is that we have made that policy decision in Nevada, in the United States, and in Canada, that in the situation of regulated sport hunting, that there is a requirement that you do retrieve that meat. We are trying to make it consistent for these animals as well, but that certainly would apply. If a deer, if an elk, if a bighorn sheep is killed in the wild, and that meat is not retrieved, then yes, probably a coyote or somebody or some other animal will come along and use that. That applies to really all big game animals.
All right, any more questions? Okay, I believe Vice Chair, you had a second question.
Thank you, Chair. I think I do share my colleagues' concerns about the definition of waste, and I agree, it does seem strange to ask someone to harvest something to throw in the trash. But I think my question just comes from knowing that, is this change in the law going to encourage more people to consume this meat and thereby risk the health effects? Is that going to be the ultimate effect of this?
Madam Chair, Skip Daly again for the record. My understanding, most people that I know that hunt these animals are harvesting the meat. It's currently not a requirement. Some people are just doing the quote-unquote trophy hunting type situation. The people that are getting the tag, going out, they're not ignorant to these things. They know. Most people are harvesting and do that. I don't think it's going to encourage people that are not educating themselves. Not everybody, it's hard to get a tag in the first place, not so much for the lion, but it is for the bear. So I suppose it's a risk, but there's many risks with everything, and it's an assumed risk. And people should and can be educated. But I don't think it'll discourage or encourage either way. Most people harvest the meat anyway.
Thank you so much, and thank you for those answers. And Senator Daly, I understand you're also in committee, so if you don't need to stay for testimony unless you wish to. So thank you for rushing on up here. It's up to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I will. I know Mr. Davis can handle the rest of it. So thank you, and I'll get back to
Thank you.
Senate Government Affairs.
And thank you so much for rushing on up here. So next, we will hear testimony on SB 101. Just as a reminder, please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Testify in support if you support the bill in its entirety. Even if there's one little word that you don't like, you should testify in opposition. Testify in neutral if not taking a position, instead just providing information. Please attempt to limit your testimony to 2 minutes, and ditto is always appreciated. So we'll begin testimony in support of SB 101 here in Carson City. Please begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Andrew McKay. I'm actually in my capacity representing the Great Basin Wildlife Conservancy. That's a new non-governmental organization that exists solely for scientific management of wildlife. And to dovetail off what Mr. Davis said, promotion and preservation of the North American model, which its first tenet is, as I think the committee is aware of, that wildlife in North America is held in the public trust. We all have equal stake in that. Simply put, we support this bill. We believe it's a good conservation bill, and it makes perfect sense. As an aside, as a very proud, unabashed outdoorsman and hunter, I was actually shocked when I found out when this bill was introduced that bears are not considered to be big game animals. I always assumed they were. And so this bill just simply makes common sense in our eyes. So thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Have a great day.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Paul Young on behalf of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners. We want to thank Senator Skip Daly for bringing this bill in here today in support of SB 101. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Assembly members, my name is Chris Costin. I'm here today on behalf of the Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. We are in support of SB 101. We believe as ethical hunters, we have the responsibility to harvest and remove the edible portions of mountain lions and bears, and we believe that is the right thing to do. This will bring all big game species to a consistent level with all other big game species within the state. We know that the consumption of these animals will not be the same for all hunters, and want to make you guys aware that there are numerous ways to donate this meat or to find ways of using it if you don't want to use it yourself. As responsible and ethical hunters, we have a responsibility to do the right thing with the animals we hunt and to show the best representation of our hunting community, and we believe by doing this, it will achieve just that. So thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to testify in support here in Carson City? In Las Vegas, anybody who would like to testify in support? Seeing none, come to the table. Elko? AVH, is there anybody online?
Chair, the public lines are open and working, but we have no callers to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. Next, we will hear testimony in opposition to SB 101. Is there anybody here in Carson who would like to offer testimony in opposition? Seeing none, here in Carson, Las Vegas, Elko, AVH.
Chair, we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Let's try one more time. How about neutral? Here in Carson City, Las Vegas, Elko, AVH.
Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. This concludes the testimony on this bill. Would you like to make any closing remarks? Okay, thank you. So now we will move on to our next bill hearing. I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 405, which creates the Transit to Trails Task Force. Thank you to those presenting today. Senator Pizzina, whenever you are ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Anderson and members of the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources. Thank you so much for having us here to present Senate Bill 405. Some of you are seeing me for the second time today, and thank you again for having me. For the record, my name is Julie Pizzina, and I represent Senate District 12 in Clark County. I'm pleased to present today Senate Bill 405, which creates the Transit to Trails Task Force. And I'm joined today by Olivia Tanager, who'll be speaking momentarily from the Sierra Club, as well as one of our younger Nevadans, who's going to talk about what this bill means to him. This bill aims to create a framework that bridges the gap between public transportation and trail access, fostering a more inclusive and sustainable approach to outdoor recreation. Just to give you a little background on this bill, during the past interim, which I served with some of you on the interim committee, I had the honor of working alongside Ms. Tanager on this bill. During one of our meetings, we had a presentation from Nevada's Division of Outdoor Recreation, and she and I had a number of discussions about this Transit to Trails Task Force, and that was how the solicitation of recommendation came to be, and I'm so thrilled that we have the opportunity to be here today to discuss. We're fortunate to live in a state that's so renowned for its diverse landscapes and abundant opportunities to enjoy the outdoors. However, many communities face barriers in accessing these areas due to limited transportation options. The existing infrastructure simply doesn't provide reliable means to reach the trailheads. Additionally, that lack of infrastructure can also pose various public safety concerns. This is especially true in the beautiful Lake Tahoe Basin, where parking challenges and weather conditions have the potential to create very dangerous situations. During the interim, the Toyabe chapter of the Sierra Club recommended legislation to find a solution to these problems, and that is how we find ourselves here today. Before I go over a bill summary, however, and I'm happy to do so, at the chair's discretion, I'd like to go ahead and hand it over, though, to our other presenters, and thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is James Mortensen, Jamesmortensen. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak in support of Senate Bill 405. Trails and outdoor spaces are very important in my life, and I believe more kids and families could benefit from them if they were easier to get to. I've been using trails for as long as I can remember. I've seen pictures of myself as a baby in a carrier with my parents on the trail. Being outside is our family personality. I don't know who we would be as a family if we couldn't go outside. I have the opportunity to hike or backpack in several national parks, including Great Basin National Park in eastern Nevada. On my wish list is a trip to southern Nevada to go climbing in Red Rocks. The trails here in northern Nevada are where I most often spend my weekends. The trail has provided an opportunity to do many sports such as skiing, rock climbing, hiking, camping, and backpacking. It has also allowed me to spend time with my family and friends. When I'm on the trail, I can worry about nothing and focus on fun. I don't have to think about school, and the thrill of being unplugged from our electronic world is refreshing because on the trails, the games are provided by nature. Having a car shouldn't stop you from accessing the trail because what carries you on the trail is your feet. It seems silly that other kids can't walk on the trail with their feet because their families may not have a car. When this bill was presented through the Senate committee, some people thought there may be better ways than public transportation to get to trails. My co-presenter talked about how a trip to Chickadee Ridge was in her life. Chickadee Ridge is a 2.5-mile trail that leaves from Tahoe Meadows and Mount Rose Highway. From the nearest public bus stop, it would cost about $35 in Uber to get there, or a 3-hour bike ride up a really big hill. If you go on a hike once per week, round trip in an Uber, it would cost $3,640 a year. A 10-year-old can understand that someone who can't afford a car cannot afford Ubers to trailheads. I have found real joy in the outdoors that doesn't involve a screen. I think everyone should have the opportunity to experience that. Thank you for your support of this bill.
Thank you. Isn't he great? Yeah. And my name is Olivia. I'm Olivia Tanager. I'm the director of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter, for the record. I really like this bill, and I appreciate you all taking the time to hear this bill today. We've heard from a lot of young folks, just like James, who haven't been able to access outdoor recreation opportunities because of limited transportation, as Senator Pizzino was talking about. We believe that SB 405, Transit to Trails, is a simple but powerful step toward expanding access to the outdoors for all Nevadans. This bill supports the development of public transportation routes that connect urban areas to parks, trails, and public lands. And so briefly, as I believe I've told this committee before, the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter has 2 ICO programs, ICO standing for Inspiring Connections Outdoors, one in Reno and one in Las Vegas, and those programs seek to get kids outside who might not otherwise be able to get outside. And by far the biggest barrier that we have heard from those students is transportation. That's why folks haven't been able to get up to Tahoe who live in Reno. Folks who live in southern Nevada haven't been able to get out to Red Rock. And so that's the exact problem that this bill is seeking to address. Too often access to nature depends on owning a car, but outdoor recreation shouldn't be a luxury here in Nevada, especially when we have awesome outdoor recreation opportunities at our doorstep that folks just need an avenue to get there. Transit to trails is something that other states have successfully implemented. Some states have done rails to trails even, which is very cool. And I believe that Nevada is particularly well suited for transit to trails. This is truly about equity, access, and sustainability. Connecting transit to trails reduces emission, eases traffic in recreation areas, and gets more people outside, something we know is good for both physical and mental health. And one of the things I will say in soliciting feedback from stakeholders is that we heard that, as Senator Pazina mentioned, there have been a lot of public safety issues with folks trying to get outside in their own vehicles, especially in the winter. Folks in the Spring Mountains or folks trying to get up to Tahoe in the winter time who have gotten stuck there, and then that's a huge drain on our public safety resources as well because they have to be rescued. So if we had public transportation that was better equipped for taking folks outside to recreate in the winter, we would all be safer and the better for it. The other thing that I'll note is that I got a call from somebody this morning who was worried that we didn't have tribal representation on the task force. So I did want to mention that in doing the stakeholder outreach for this bill, I did reach out to a couple of tribes, and because of the limitation of resources that exist there, they didn't want to be required to go to yet another meeting. So I wanted to note before I list out the folks in the stakeholder group that we did not intentionally exclude tribes, and I did commit to this person that for the 2 members of the public, we would work with them to try and find a tribal member who would be willing to be part of the task force because we believe that that's a viewpoint that's very important, but just wanted to make that note. So with that being said, this bill, SB 405, creates a task force, and I'll go ahead and list out the members of the task force. We have 1 representative from the Office of the Governor, 1 member of law enforcement because of the feedback I mentioned that we've gotten about traffic and other safety concerns related to towing in the winter, 1 member of Southern Nevada's RTC, 1 member of the Washoe RTC, 1 member of a non-Washoe, non-Clark County, 1 member from the Division of Outdoor Recreation, 2 members of the public, 1 representative from the Forest Service, BLM, and National Park Service, and 1 representative from the Tahoe Transportation District that was an amendment that we included on the Senate side. The task force is tasked with identifying high-priority trailheads to run transit to and identifying ways to bring money into RTC through private philanthropy, federal monies, or other avenues to get things up and running. At its core, SB 405 helps us connect the dots between where Nevadans live and where they want to be, enjoying our great outdoors. So let's put the wheels in motion and make the outdoors more accessible for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie Pazina, again for the record. And since Ms. Tanager really covered the bill summary, at this point, we're really ready for questions, and we thank you so much for hearing this bill today.
Thank you. All right, so I was a little bit surprised it came to natural resources. I'm not going to lie. So I'm just going to put that out there that I was, because I believe, if I'm understanding the bill correctly, if I may, actually before asking this question and opening it up to the rest of the committees, I would just like to say, Mr. Mortensen, you did a wonderful job. Thank you for the math and for everything else that you've mentioned, because I do love Chickadee Ridge as well, and it is a very far way to be able to get to by bus. I could just imagine. Bipartisan agreement. We see some Democrats, there are some Republicans, and more importantly, there's a 10-year-old that likes it too. So that's, so greatly appreciate you bringing in Chickadee Ridge. But just out of curiosity, this report would be going to the, if you could go into a little bit more of section 5, that the idea is to be able to send this to the growth and infrastructure bill, section 5 of the bill. It would go to the growth and infrastructure, or would you also be considering sending it on to natural resources as well?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. Olivia Tanager for the record. The bill as written does go to the Growth and Infrastructure Committee in the interim. I believe because of the issues that they cover related to public transportation, that is an appropriate avenue for that report to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for making that clarification, because although it is coming to this committee, I would agree with that. All right. Are there any questions? No questions? Great job. Thank you so much for bringing us this important legislation. So why don't we open it up to testimony and support. Why don't we do that first here in Carson City? And if you're in Vegas for that, you can come on up to the table as well.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tristan St. Dennis. I am the policy advocate for the Nevada Conservation League. We are here in strong support for SB 405. Studies consistently show that spending time outdoors can provide numerous physical and mental health benefits while creating a connection to nature, which we really value. A Transit to Trails program would help ensure that public lands and other outdoor spaces are accessible for all Nevadans and visitors, regardless of background or social barriers. For that reason, we urge your support. Thank you.
Devin Middlebrook, Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, MIDDLABROOK, here to support this bill and thank the author for inclusion of a Tahoe seat on the task force. Roughly 1/3 of all Nevada State Parks visitation happens at Lake Tahoe, so excited to participate and bring our expertise to the task force. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Hector Arreola, and I am the Policy Fellow with the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. We are a statewide coalition of community organizations fighting for sustainability, justice, equity, and all levels of government decision-making. Together, we build people power through grassroots organizing and policy advocacy, and we are here in full support of Senate Bill 405. And I'll be sharing a personal story on why this will be impactful to our community. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, and as a child of a single mother struggling through the Great Recession, money was tight, but our trips to the greater outdoors became a sanctuary. Red Rock, Mount Charleston, Valley of Fire, these places gave us adventure, bonding, and escape when we needed it the most. Some of our most precious memories were formed on these trails and shorelines of Lake Mead, where the desert taught me resilience just like my mom did. But when our car started to fail, everything changed. Those bonding adventures vanished every time we couldn't afford to repair the car. We became prisoners to our very own zip code, watching the landscape that has shaped our family become inaccessible. Public lands belong to everyone, not just those with access to a reliable vehicle. Transit to Trail addresses the gap in connecting our communities to recreate in the greater outdoors through community-centered planning, ensuring that public transportation actively connects underserved communities to parks, trails, and open spaces. Thank you for your time.
Chair Anderson and members of the committee, my name is Jana Moan, Jainamoan, and I am the External Affairs Director for the Nevada chapter of the Nature Conservancy. And we are here in strong support of SB 405. We support a Transit to Trails task force. This effort would enhance equitable access for people of varying economic levels to visit and experience Nevada's beautiful trails and parks. Expanding opportunities for all people to experience nature can improve public health, too. And we also think that such a program can also alleviate vehicle congestion at crowded trails, which is often a problem. And so it can resolve issues on many fronts. We thank the bill sponsor for bringing it forward, and thank you to the Sierra Club as well. And we urge your support for SB 405. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members and chair. My name is Nicole Flangas, Flangas, here on behalf of the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition. We are here in support of SB 405. We believe our state's recreation industry has the power to invigorate communities and drive economic growth. One of MVOBC's core missions is creating a more connected outdoor recreation industry in Nevada. So the creation of this task force to identify public transit location priorities and apply for grants to allow more Nevadans to easily connect with the outdoor landscape is right in line with our mission. I am also here on behalf of the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency. We want to express our support and look forward to lending our expertise in regional infrastructure planning and GIS mapping, and our resources are available to the task force at any time. Thank you very much.
Bisha Davino, no Calboon Menania, no Akaida Gutta. Good afternoon. My name is Cal Boone, Calboone, and I'm a citizen of the Trout Eater people, commonly known as the Walker River Paiute tribe by its English name. Some of you may know me as a state worker, but I'm here in my personal capacity today. Initially, I was planning on testifying in opposition because I saw that there were no spots for tribal members or representatives on this task force. But I spoke with one of the bill sponsors, and they reassured me that they have consulted with tribes for almost a year on this bill. So I'm glad that consultation has been happening. This is a great bill, and I hope that it continues to engage communities and promote more outdoor recreation. It is my hope that tribal inclusion will remain a priority for this task force. In closing, I want to remind everyone that the state of Nevada is a guest on these lands. The lands belong to the Great Basin tribes, Nema, Newe, Washoe, Nowu, Pipa Aha Makav. As the state is a guest here, it is important to work with the tribes. They are not just another organization or something. Tribal governments are on the same level as the state and foreign governments and need to be treated as such. Please support SB 405 and tribal consultation in all facets of the work you do. Bijama. Thank you, everyone.
Is there anyone else here in Carson City? Seeing no one? Las Vegas, you may begin when you are ready. I'm not sure who came up first.
Hello. Hello, Assembly Committee. My name is Jahaira Mendez, YAJAIRA, and I am a proud member of Make the Road Nevada. I am writing to urge your fully support for SB 405. As a cancer patient who relies solely on public transportation, this bill is deeply personal to me. SB 405 will help expand transportation options across Nevada, making travel more accessible, affordable, and reliable. For people like me, reliable transit makes access to life-saving treatments and appointments. And it's not just a convenience, it's also necessity to directly impact my quality of life. This bill is about justice and health, better public transportation to green spaces, recreational areas, more cleaner air, and less pollution from car traffic. That matters especially for someone like me who struggles with their health. Cleaner air helps protect my lungs' overall well-being. Beyond health, SB 405 will reduce traffic congestion, improve safety at crowded trailheads. It will also connect more Nevadans, especially those from underserved communities who rely solely on public transportation, to our beautiful outdoors without needing a own car. Everyone deserves the freedom to enjoy nature regardless of income or background. SB 405 will also boost our economy by identifying funding sources, creating new jobs opportunity as we improve, expand transit infrastructures statewide. Please support SB 405 to its smart investment in health quality, the environment, and the freedom of all Nevadas to access this places that heal and inspire. Thank you.
Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Assembly members. My name is Flor. I'm a youth organizer with Make the Road Nevada, and I'm here in support of Senate Bill 405. I think this bill is really important because not everyone has a car or easy access to nature. I've seen how hard it can be for people, especially young folks, low-income families, or people who live in the city to get out to hiking trails or parks. Creating a task force to look at how we can connect public transport to outdoor spaces just makes sense. Nature should be for everyone, not just people who can afford to drive there. I support this bill because it's about equity, public health, and helping more people enjoy the outdoors. Thank you for your time.
I'm so sorry, Flor. Can you please spell your first and last name for the
Sorry
record?
about that.
That's okay.
Flor, Flor, last name Diaz, Diaz.
Thank you. I think we've got one more up there.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Angel Diaz. I am 14 years old, and I have lived in Nevada my entire life. I'm here today as a member of Make the Road Nevada to express my strong support at SB 405. Public transportation is not just a convenience, it is a necessity for families like mine. My uncle, who helps support our household, relies on public transit to get to work every day. Without it, he would not be able to keep his job or continue providing for us. SB 405 is more than transportation, it is protecting people's ability to survive and thrive. Our communities deserve reliable, affordable, and accessible public transit that connects us to work, school, healthcare, and opportunity. Please support SB 405. It is an investment to help working families like mine and in the future of young people like me. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've got some more people in Vegas.
Yes, hi, Chair and members of the committee. Deborah Reardon on behalf of the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. My name is spelled DEBORAHREARDON. And the RTC is here today in support of SB 405. The RTC is responsible for managing public transit operations in Southern Nevada, And we recognize the value of coordinated efforts to expand access to recreational areas through transit and also to improve our overall quality of life. The RTC is prepared to work with the task force to assess our transit service needs to trailheads, as well as contribute technical and planning expertise where appropriate. We see this legislation as a useful step in exploring transit solutions that align with community needs and outdoor access goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Vegas? And thank you so much, Senator Pizzina, for being here. I know that you've got another committee to get to. Looks like Elko is going dark. AVH, is there anybody on the phone that would like to testify in support?
To testify in support for Senate Bill 405, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press *9.
Good afternoon, Chair Anderson and members of the committee. My name is Elizabeth Becker. That's Elizabeth, Becker, Becker. And I am here today in support on behalf of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada. We are also a member of the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. And I'm here on behalf of those we advocate for and with. I'm also here as a former college professor and middle school science teacher who often led my students on hikes and cleanups around the valley. We would have greatly benefited from the option to reach those destinations by public transit as opposed to caravans of private vehicles. As an organization, PLAN supports legislation that has the potential to improve the quality of life for everyday people and to support a just transition away from fossil fuels. This bill touches on both of those goals. And for all of those reasons stated by previous presenters and testifiers, we're in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last three digits 546, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller with the last three digits 546, please press *6 to unmute.
Hello?
Hello. Please
Hi.
begin.
My name is Brianna Pavis, and I am a member of Make the Road Nevada, and I'm here to speak in support of SB 405. This bill matters because it will make it easier for the public to access the trails. That means that more people can get access to these and stay outside and stay active. So that way it will help. Sorry, I ran in here. And I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before.
You're doing well. It's okay.
Thank you. I'm in the building now. Can I hang up the call? I'll just keep talking. Sorry.
You're more than welcome to come on in. So, Ms. Brees, if you'd like, you are also more than welcome to submit written testimony up to 24 hours after the hearing, if that works out better for you, unless you're here at this time.
Yes, I'm here now.
Oh, great. There you are at the table. You may begin.
All right. Hello, my name is Brianna Pavis. I'm here with Make the Road Nevada, and I'm here to speak in support of SB number 405. This bill matters because it will make it easier for the public to access these trails, and this means that more people can stay outside and stay active, and it will also raise awareness for people who may not be able to go to these lands often. So this will make it easier for the public to stay active and healthy and be more aware of the lands that they call home.
This is also very important because transportation will make it more accessible to people who may have disabilities or the elderly who may have not had other ways to get to these trails. So this will help make these trails more accessible for everybody. And another reason that I believe this bill is very important is because offering public transportation will help cut down our carbon footprint, and people who can come to this public transportation can use this instead of using an Uber or their own car to get there, therefore lessening our carbon footprint, as I already said, and waste, and help make our land cleaner and a healthier Nevada. So I'm asking for your support on SB number 405, so that way we can have a cleaner and healthier Nevada where we can all support and help these lands, because I believe we have a beautiful state that everyone should be able to see. Thank you.
Perfect way to end that. And if you could possibly also spell your last name for us.
Pavis,
Yes, please.
P-A-V-E-S-E.
Thank you so much. I think there might have been somebody else that was standing up in Las Vegas, maybe, to come to the table. Or no, just giving directions. Great. Is there anybody else online, on the phones, that would like to be able to testify in support?
Hello, my name is Isabella Campos, C-A-M-P-O-S, and I'm a member of the Youth Power Project with Make Through Nevada, and I'm here to support SB 405. Everyone should have the chance to enjoy nature, even if they don't have a car. This bill would make it easier for people to take the bus to the trails, which is important for those who rely on public transportation. It's also better for the environment. Less driving means less pollution, and with fewer cars at the trail, those spaces will be less crowded and safer for everyone. Please support SB 405. It's a simple step towards making the outdoors more accessible and welcoming for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, please.
Chair, the public lines are open and working. We have no more callers to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We'll now move to, next we'll hear testimony in opposition of SB 405. We'll start here in Carson City. Seeing nobody. Las Vegas. AVH.
Chair, we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to testify who is neutral on this measure? We'll start here in Carson City, Clark County, or Las Vegas. Elko's still dark. How about AVH?
Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. That concludes the testimony on this bill. Would you like to make any closing remarks? Maybe some other ideas of where we should go hiking? Maybe? Okay. I'll close the hearing. Thank you so much, though, for joining us today, and I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 405. Let's move on to the last bill. You were so close to being the first one. Thank you, Director. So close. We'll open the bill hearing now on Senate Bill 43, which revises provisions related to environmental protection. And presenting today, we have Administrator Carr from the Division of Environmental Protection. Please begin whenever you're ready. And again, thank you for your patience.
Very happy to oblige. Good afternoon. Chair Anderson, Vice Chair LaRue Hatch, and members of the committee, I am Jennifer Carr, spelled C-A-R-R, and I am, thank you, the Administrator of the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection, or NDEP. That's a terribly difficult act to follow on top of wildlife, right? But I'm gonna try to make the world of state governance riveting. I appreciate the opportunity to present Senate Bill 43. This bill is designed to address the delegation of authorities from NDEP to local health districts. It's related to two programs, specifically the Safe Drinking Water Program and the Solid Waste Management Program. This afternoon, I'll touch on the original context for the bill we introduced, but I will be speaking to reprint one. Sometimes a little bit of history helps, so I can at least tell you a story. For a bit of historical background, Nevada's been managing solid waste since 1971 under NRS 444, originally under the auspices of the State Board of Health. Authority for this NRS shifted to the State Environmental Commission, which is NDEP's oversight body, in 1975, and program implementation shifted in 1977 from what is currently the Department of Health and Human Services to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Permitting and oversight of landfills under the Federal Resource Conservation and Recovery Act were added to the NRS in 1993, and NDEP administers this program under federal delegation from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or US EPA. Nevada's been managing safe drinking water since 1977, originally under the State Board of Health, with implementation by the health officer of the state as well as health authorities, which included district boards of health. That same year, 1977, Nevada adopted the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act, which is now codified in NRS 445A. In 2005, the legislature moved program implementation from the State Board of Health to the State Environmental Commission, and from the health authorities to the division and, quote, appropriate district boards of health, unquote. NDEP retains federal delegation for this program from the US EPA, and it is known as Primary Enforcement Authority, or primacy. So under federal law, these programs are delegated solely to the state, but Nevada's drinking water law has been jointly implemented by NDEP and local health districts for decades. When the State Board of Health establishes a health district today, the health district automatically assumes responsibility for the drinking water program under the original 1977 NRSs. In contrast, implementation of the solid waste law by a health district is optional. But in both cases, NDEP uses interlocal agreements under the Nevada Interlocal Cooperation Act and NRS 277 to delegate program activities under our federal primacy delegations from US EPA. Until recently, there were only two health districts, Northern Nevada Public Health and Southern Nevada Health District. But in late 2022, NDEP became aware of activities surrounding the creation of the Central Nevada Health District. Early discussions revealed that their original planning and goals, as have been stated to us, were really more about increasing local community health and wellness services and did not necessarily appear to include implementation of a drinking water program. NDEP has since entered into an interlocal agreement with the Central Nevada Health District as they acquire and train staff and work to build capacity. Please note that NDEP is not involved in the creation of health districts by the State Board of Health under NRS 439. The 2005 legislative relocation of the drinking water program under the State Environmental Commission created a bit of a disconnect in the process of delegating NDEP's authority and the responsibilities thereunder. NDEP has since become concerned about the lack of an assenting role that we have in making a conscious decision on further delegation of our sole authority for federal primacy. Current law takes effect for a health district upon approval by the State Board of Health, essentially creating drinking water implementation responsibilities on day one. As you may know or may imagine, Safe Drinking Water Act is extensive, covering a long list of federal rules, program elements and requirements, a few of these being things you've heard about lately, like PFAS, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. You might know them as forever chemicals. We also have been working with EPA as they expand their role in the lead and copper rule for drinking water, and we've also been working on issues related to cybersecurity for this critical infrastructure. Similarly, the solid waste management program is increasing in breadth and complexity as more industries expand to Nevada, particularly solid and hazardous waste recyclers. This growth brings challenges related to hazardous waste management and ensuring that businesses understand the applicability and scope of regulatory requirements. This includes making regulatory determinations for each business related to the type of waste that they handle. In SB 43, key provisions are Section 4 in the Solid Waste Law and Section 20 in the Public Water Systems Law. Besides a few other sections in reprint 1 that I will note in a moment, the remaining sections of the bill primarily make conforming changes. When we started with this bill as introduced, the original language was well-intentioned, and we were seeking to completely alleviate these responsibilities for these environmental laws from newly forming health districts and retaining those responsibilities for these laws at NDP. But recognizing that their larger focus was related to community health and wellness, that's what we were attempting to achieve on their behalf. But as noted, in large part, implementing NDP programs is increasingly challenging, and even the two long-standing health districts that have been doing this for decades have also experienced various challenges to full implementation. But as we moved into this process at the end of last year, as we prepared for session and through outreach to the 3 existing health districts, the new potential Quad County Health District, the Nevada Association of Counties, and others, we discovered that relieving new health districts from this responsibility was not a desirable approach. And through that process, we were strongly encouraged not to look just at the challenges of today, but to rather consider future opportunities for new or growing health districts. They encouraged us to have an approach that would allow health districts to build their capacity over time and eventually take on these environmental laws that have a public health nexus. While recognizing NDP's federal responsibilities to the US EPA, we gained consensus on the approach that you have in reprint 1. The proposed approach provides a pathway for a district board of health of a health district to seek designation of all or part of these programs at any time. This flexible approach provides for a system where a district could even start small and build over time. For the overarching purpose of maintaining federal delegation for NDP, or for Nevada, the NDP administrator in reprint 1 would designate any health district to carry out the applicable provisions of NRS 444 or 445A, along with related regulations, if a health district voluntarily seeks designation and demonstrates its capability to implement the programs. Such designation would continue to use the formal Interlocal Cooperation Act to legally transfer federally delegated state authority for the elements of the program that are sought by a district. The interlocal agreement would clearly and transparently outline the scope of work and details of program designation. Also, to maintain NDP's federal primacy delegations for the programs, the amendments outline terms for, the reprint 1 outlines terms for periodic review of the health district's designated program performance, and we would be able to act accordingly if a program is found to have deficiencies. So basically, if a deficiency presents an imminent or substantial threat to public health, public safety, or the environment, then the division could revoke the program designation with notice to the district effective immediately, but with opportunity to appeal to the State Environmental Commission. If the deficiency did not present an imminent hazard, then the division would provide a notice to the health districts to correct the deficiency with 60 days, no less than 60 days to cure the deficiencies. And that deadline could be extended upon mutual agreement. If the deficiency were to not be corrected, then the administrator may issue a decision of revocation. Solid waste law in NRS 444 currently contains a similar audit provisions and determinations of inadequacy. They're included in section 14. But you'll notice that those provisions are struck from subsections 1 and 2 because they were superseded by the new language in section 4. For the solid waste law, we are seeking to shift to a more proactive approach to building these programs with NDP involvement. And with this change, the 2 programs in NRS 444 and 445A would also have consistent language. I would note that under other sections of law and regulation, any final decision of the division can be appealed to the State Environmental Commission. So we have not added additional appeal provisions here. So much of the remaining amendments, much of the remaining language in reprint 1 focuses on conforming changes. However, a few additional key points are worth highlighting. Sections 13.5 and 23 provide for the State Environmental Commission to create regulatory criteria for evaluating a health district's capacity to implement all or part of these programs, so that any future decision of an administrator will be guided by regulation and not potentially become arbitrary. This language is obligatory and states that the State Environmental Commission shall adopt regulations establishing such criteria. NDP has an established history of seeking broad representation by stakeholders in our regulation amendment process under the Nevada Administrative Procedures Act, and given that the health districts are not just stakeholders but partners, NDP will ensure that they will be involved at the outset of developing these regulatory criteria for demonstrating capacity well before any draft regulations are submitted to the Legislative Council Bureau. Or any formal public workshop we would be doing under NRS 233B. Concern was expressed during the process about not just having the regulations address what capacity looks like, but also the process of how we would unfold that relationship as they seek to obtain designation. So in closing, the design of Reprint 1 ensures that NDP holds an active role in designating a health district to have authority over public water systems law based on a demonstration of capacity versus a law that provides delegation of NDP's federal authority without our involvement on the day the district is created. These changes provide the flexibility Nevada needs to ensure that regulatory oversight is assigned to an entity with the appropriate capacity to manage these programs or is otherwise retained by the division. Additionally, they create a level playing field for all current and future health districts and establish a pathway for discussions for the northern and southern Nevada health districts about their current implementation challenges, even though they are grandfathered in as they exist today under Section 34. Ultimately, these amendments will support interlocal agreements that are transparent and clearly define and reflect the roles and responsibilities of NDP and the health districts. And I'm happy to answer questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. And you were able to get through that pretty succinctly. So you always seem to take these really small, little, tiny items that need cleanup, Administrator Carr. So thank you for bringing those forward, though. Before I open it up to the committee, I do have one quick question. When it comes to the regulations that you mentioned very specifically in sections 13.5 and 23, thank you for bringing that up. Do you know what date you would have those regulations ready to be brought forward to the Leg Commission? Or is this going to be something that's done before our next legislative session?
Thank you, Chair Anderson, Jennifer Carr, for the record. I believe those sections of the bill take effect right away so that we can work on those regulations, and other portions of the bill may take effect a little bit later. I don't remember exactly how that's worded at the end, but we would start working on them right away. The permanent reg cycle opens July 1. We probably won't have them by then, but I'm sure you would see them at Leg Commission within the next year or so. Great.
Thank you so much. I just figured, knowing you, that you probably already had a plan and half of it already figured out. So just wanted to see if there was a date that you were thinking about. All right, are there any questions? Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. My question has to do with Section 4, subsection 3. There's various notations here: deficiency by certified mail, written notice must be mailed to the district by certified mail. Have you considered, or will you consider also by email delivery? Because it seems like we're adding that to a lot of bills in the legislature, that it is not only by mail, but also by electronic delivery. And it seems for efficiency, that might be good to add that as a consideration.
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Kasama. Thank you. That is not a method of delivery that we have considered in the past, but I'm happy to discuss it with either council or the Attorney General's office to see if that meets the basically the legal requirements of delivery of such a weighty notice to make sure that the recipient is in receipt of that in a legal and timely way. But thank you.
Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for explaining a very complicated sort of thing in a way that's somewhat understandable for me. Could we address section, I think this is where it is, section 13.5 sub B. We spoke a little bit about how there is a criteria for a district board of health to demonstrate capability. I think we talked a little bit, if you could maybe just elaborate how, the state is kind of going to be over this, but if somebody wanted to maybe make an appeal, if you're following my line of questioning that we talked about in my office.
Oh, thank you very much for the question, Assemblymember Hanson, Jennifer Carr, for the record. This section 13.5 is the direction to the State Environmental Commission that they shall adopt regulations. So again, this is not permissive, it's obligatory. We must adopt regulations in order to clearly outline what what capacity would look like. Technical staff, funding for the program, managerial capacity for that program, the things that just go into having a program that can operate with good governance. And so we don't want that to be potentially arbitrary or or different decisions being made by different future administrators. So we agreed that it would be appropriate for this to be codified in regulation so that everyone had some regulatory certainty and that the commission would in fact do this and not have the choice as to whether to do it or not. We will be doing regulations in order to clearly outline the path to designation should a new health district want to pursue that.
Thank you so much. And again, knowing you, you more than likely have some standard language that you'll be able to help with some people getting that quickly. All right, are there any other questions? Assemblymember Karas.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I may be reading this incorrectly. On page 4, section 4, subsection 3A, lines 40 and 41. I'm a little confused, and if I'm reading this incorrectly, tell me why it's stated like this. The written notice must set forth the date by which the District Board of Health must correct the deficiency, which must not be less than 60 days. Is that correct?
Thank you very much for the question, Assemblymember Karas. Jennifer Carr, for the record. This is the joy of LCP drafting. No offense meant. So. So in the event that a health district has taken on a program to help us run one of these federally delegated programs, and for some reason upon audit, we found that they were not effective or they they had deficiencies in the way they were operating the program. Then in the event that it's not presenting an imminent substantial danger to human health, safety of the environment, then we would send them a notice, which in more plain English would be giving them at least 60 days to correct the deficiency. And we would mail that to the district, and we could extend that upon mutual agreement between the division and the health district. So, if it was not something that could be easily fixed within 60 days, then we could give them more time. But we can't send them a deficiency notice on an audit and say, you have 7 days to fix it or else we're going to pull your designation. They have to have at least 60 days to correct the deficiency in that regard.
Because that's not the way I read it. It just sounds to me like there's a deficiency and they cannot correct it in less than 60 days. Why am I reading it incorrectly?
I believe this has to do with the way that the legal language is.
Okay.
And,
Never mind.
And sorry about that. Thank you for that clarification as well, but I think it has to do with how the legal language is with the time frame. And they're just, our stomachs are all in knots, and so sometimes are our words, it looks like. So that's kind of what's happening with this. So it has to do with the legal precedents that might be in other parts of this chapter as well. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, it was a great insight, by the way, Assemblymember. Thank you so much. It looks like we are now ready to move on to testimony in support. We'll begin with testimony and support here in Carson City. Is there anybody who would like to come to the table to begin testimony? All right, seeing nobody running up to the table right away. Carson City? Oh, we do have somebody. Never mind. Thank you for throwing away that. Okay, so nobody in Elko. How about AVH? Oh, and there's nobody, anybody in Vegas? Oh, AVH.
Chair, we have no callers to testify in support.
Thank you. Let's move to opposition of this bill. We'll start here in Carson City, Las Vegas, AVH.
There are no callers for opposition testimony.
Thank you. We'll move on to neutral here in Carson City. We do have people here in Carson City now. You may begin when you're ready.
You Chair. For the record, my name is Joelle Gutman Dodson with Northern Nevada Public Health, and I wasn't planning on getting up here today in neutral. We did testify on the other side in neutral, but I just really wanted to thank Administrator Carr and her staff for the meetings we had, for listening to us. We really worked through what we needed to work through. We really appreciate all the work that they've done. And as you can see, this is an incredibly complicated bill, and I can't even tell you all the details about it, but she can. And we appreciate working with NDEP. Thank you.
Hello, Chair and Committee. Thank you for your time. My name is Amy Hines Sutherland. I'm the Health and Human Services Manager for NACO, AMYHYNE-SUTHERLAND. And I just wanted to know what Ms. Gubman had shared. We appreciate Jennifer Carr and her team at NDEP working with us on this to ensure a path forward for local health districts and counties looking to form local health districts to be able to take this on eventually should they develop that capacity and wish to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody in Clark County? Seeing none. AVH.
Chair, there are no callers for neutral testimony.
All right, that concludes our testimony on the bill. Would you like to make any closing remarks? No, okay. Thank you so much. I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 43. And so now we've arrived at the last item of our agenda, public comment. As a reminder, members of the public can provide comments in person, by phone, or submit written public comment to the committee's email up to 24 hours after the meeting. Why don't we try to keep it to 2 minutes or less? And if you are here in Carson City and you would like to make public comment, come on up. Seeing no one, how about in Las Vegas? Elko, AVH.
Chair, the public lines are open and working, but we have no callers for public comment.
Well, thank you so much. And that concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be on Monday, May 5th at 4 p.m. Thank you.